Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Good morning, Your Honor.
All right. So I am Judge Haxall. I'm just waiting for the clerk to arrive with the file. I was able to print off a portion of it, but obviously I'm going to need to review that before we get going. I just wanted to make sure that we have everybody that we anticipated today. So Mr. Crace and Ms. Hartman. Is it Crace or Craze?
It's Crace, sir. You pronounced it
Crace.
right.
Okay. Mr. Crace, are you anticipating anybody else to participate besides you today?
Yes, I have my character witness here today.
Okay. And who is that?
That's Abigail's aunt through
And
marriage. It's Jamie. Her name's Jamie.
Jamie, what's the last name?
Kaylee.
I'm sorry. Can you spell that, please?
Kaaley.
Okay. And what's your last name, please?
Oh, that was my last name. My first name is Jamie, Jamie.
Okay. Got it. Okay. You can give the headset back to Mr. Crace. And Ms. Hartman, are you anticipating anybody else will be appearing for you today?
No, sir.
Okay. So like I said, I'm waiting for the clerk. She should be here momentarily. While we're waiting for her, I do have some advisals I have to give you. It's most likely Judge Matthews gave you these as well. But the first one is obviously just generally when one party is presenting their evidence, the other party can object where they think it's appropriate, but generally I just need to hear from one person at a time. So if you have an objection, if there's an objection, please stop where you're staying. I'll deal with the objection, then you'll be able to continue. Please don't talk over each other. You'll each get an opportunity to present evidence and then argue to me your position. I do have one thing that I'm required to tell everybody, and that is that video or audio recording of this proceeding by any party through any device or format is strictly prohibited. Failure to comply with this admonishment may result in the imposition of sanctions or in a finding of contempt. This is also true for those people accessing this session through YouTube. And so you're aware, and Judge Matthews may have told you, in order to comply with the requirement that the courts be open to the public, this will be broadcast on YouTube for people who want to join to observe it. Technically, it is recorded, but I go back immediately afterwards and delete it. But it's improper for anyone to save or preserve that recording. As far as the presentation of evidence, I'm going to ask you each one at a time. Mr. Crace, do you have any exhibits you're going to be offering? That would be photographs, text messages, anything that's going to require us to use the technology to transfer that data, or is it only going to be your testimony and that of Ms. Daly?
Hold on here, sir.
With us sharing this, so you're looking for video or?
I'm just, if Mr. Crace is planning on presenting any, what I would call exhibits. So it's text messages, photos, video, audio, letters, anything other than just the verbal testimony of you and Mr. Crace today.
Okay, yeah, I have some.
And what is that going to be?
I have text messages and it's like Snapchat that I saved.
Okay. Ms. Hartman, same question for you.
I have video. Actually, it's a voice clip.
Okay.
From my daughter.
All right. So one of the kind of issues we've learned as we've gone through the process of dealing with court calls on Zoom is it can sometimes be challenging to share that data. So as to each of you, I'm going to ask, depending on what format you have that, one of the options we have is for you to forward whatever you have to, I have an email address for my courtroom, which I'm going to put up on the screen in a second. So if it works for you, one of the things that we found works is that that you can email to the address I'm about to put on the screen, and then I will actually be able to pull it up when you tell me you're ready for it to be presented, and that'll allow it to be played and shared. You also may have the ability to do it yourself, depending on how savvy you are with the technology. But if there's something that you know you're going to want to present, one option is to email it to that email address, and then I will be able to access it.
I'm going to go ahead and email those to you, and then I'm going to hand the headset back to Randy so he can hear.
Okay.
I actually have mine right on the computer where I can play the voice clip.
Okay, great. And there will be a point where if you look, there will be a point, you probably won't be able to do it right now because I'm sharing the screen, where you'll be able to kind of, if you have the audio, hopefully to play it through your computer with the share as well.
Yes.
And if it's saved to the computer, you may also have the ability in the chat function.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it'll allow you. If you click on the three little, oh, hold on, everyone in the waiting room, there should be. Nope, it's not going to. Probably won't let you share it that way. Okay. So again, I apologize. I'm still waiting for the clerk to get here with the file. So I'm going to mute myself and turn off my video for a moment. I'm going to go back into my office.
He turned his video off, so he's going to go back in his office. Oh, well, that's all right. Just explain it to him. That's right. That's why I was, yep.
Okay. So I am going to get started just so we can move forward. So Mr. Crace, it is as you are the petitioner, you're going to go first. I'm going to kind of explain how it's going to operate. You have the option of presenting your own testimony first, that of Ms. Haley first, however you want to proceed. While you are testifying, Ms. Haley is, I mean, I know she can't hear us, but she can obviously hear you. So she's going to have to, if there's room in the law library there for her to step away, so she's not hearing the proceedings while you're testifying, she's going to have to do that. Okay. While she is testifying, you're obviously going to be present because you are presenting her evidence. Ms. Hartman, when it comes to your turn, again, you'll have the opportunity to present your testimony, and Ms. Haley will not be present for that portion of it. Generally speaking, the way it works is I just let each of you tell me your side of the story. Okay. When Ms. Haley's doing it, Mr. Crace, it's really supposed to be a question and answer where you ask her a question and she responds. That's obviously difficult when we've only got one headset. So what I'll ask you to do is give her the headset, you ask her the question, and then she is going to respond to
Jamie,
you.
okay.
Okay?
No problem, sir.
Any questions procedurally, Mr. Crace or Ms. Hartman?
No, sir.
Okay. So Mr. Crace, as I said, you're the moving party here, so you go first. Who would you like to present first, either yourself or Ms. Haley?
Mrs. Haley here. I'll give it to her first.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you can give her the headset and then you'll ask her questions.
Okay.
Hi. So Ms. Haley, couple of issues. It's a little challenging because there's only one headset. The way this works is Mr. Crace will ask you a question because I can't really hear him when he doesn't have the headset on. I'm going to ask you to repeat the question and then answer it. Okay?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So you can ask Mr. Crace to pose this first question to you.
Okay. So he's going to ask me the question. Hold on one moment.
No, you don't. So Mr. Crace, you don't need to switch the headset back and forth. What I'm going to have you do in just a second is, and you may need to explain this to her again, while she's testifying, I'll have her wear the headset.
Okay.
You ask her a question. You know, if she needs to take off an earpiece to hear you, that's
Right.
fine. Then I'm going to ask her to repeat the question so I can hear it, and then she's going to answer. Okay?
Okay, so give her back the headphone then?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
Nope, no problem. So he's going to ask you a question. You keep the headset on. Hopefully you can hear it. If you need to take one ear off so you can hear him, that's fine. And then because I won't be able to hear him, I will ask you to repeat the question he posed to you and then answer it.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead. He can ask your first question. So just tell him, you don't need to take off the headset. Just say, ask me the first question.
Ask him the first question, or ask me the first question. Does he have, like, what is he trying to ask me? Like, that's what I'm confused about.
So for the order protection, he is going to be providing the evidence regarding the allegations in the petition he filed. I need to decide whether or not under the Domestic Abuse Act, he meets his burden to demonstrate that there is abuse, harassment, neglect within the scope of the statute. So basically he needs to prove the allegations by a preponderance of the evidence here.
Okay. So as far as like getting the abuse part of this, and so ask me a question about like, why did you take that? So he had asked me why he was taking Abby out of the house, and the answer to that was he had too many times that the cops were called for violence and the toxic relationship that was in the house.
Okay. Can you ask him to ask you questions about specific examples?
Do you have specific examples?
Well, basically, whenever the cops were involved, there was argument.
So again, Ms. Haley, he will have the chance to tell me his side of the story, but basically he needs to ask you questions to get from you the things that you've seen or witnessed yourself.
Okay. So the thing is, what have you and I talked about? Like, what have I seen? You're asking me questions. Why you're bringing me here?
For the fact that you took Timmy out of that environment because of the fact that it was intoxicated, abusive in there, and the 18-year-old came in there.
Okay. So the response to that is I had removed my nephew from that situation back in March, and that now he is trying to remove Abigail due to the situation, the toxic nature of that household.
Ms. Haley, have you witnessed specific examples with respect to Abigail?
Yes.
What have you seen or heard personally? Not what's been relayed to you by somebody else, but what have you witnessed?
She would send me messages as far as my brother and Faye getting arguments, them being drunk, not being able to eat at a decent time at night because they were not able to provide for them. There was an incident where DCFS was called and they were told to pretend like nothing was wrong while Faye and my brother hid the alcohol in the house. So unless they were ambushed by DCFS, they were told what to say and how to react.
What else?
The latest one was that Abby had snuck her boyfriend into the house through her back window, and my mom lives next door to them and had mentioned it and was told to mind her own business. I had Abigail over at my house, and she proceeded to do the same thing, but we had cameras set up, so we caught her red-handed.
What was done to Abigail after this situation at your house? Was there consequences of any kind?
Of course. I immediately woke her up. We showed her the video. We made her give us her phone. And then she proceeded to hook up to another phone through our Wi-Fi, so we knew that she had a second phone. I took all of her electronics away from her that weekend. And when I returned to her father, I gave him all the electronics, and she was not able to have them at that point.
Okay. What else? If anything. I'm not suggesting there should or shouldn't be. I'm just asking if there's anything else.
No, it's just more of I took my nephew out of that situation, and I told Abby that I would be, I wouldn't forget about her. And Randy stepped up to the plate and got her out of that situation before I had the chance to get her out of there.
Anything else?
Nope, that is all.
Okay, Ms. Hartman, do you have any questions for Ms. Haley?
No, not at this time.
Okay, now Ms. Haley, you had indicated that you were sending through, and I saw something came into the email.
There was a video that I was going to send, but it was too large of a file.
Okay,
It's an incident where it's actually my nephew, but she had recorded him, and she was accusing my brother of drinking, and my nephew actually called her out at the fact that as she was recording it, Faye was drinking herself. So if there's a different way I can send the file, I will try. I'll keep going.
what do you have? It's on your phone right now?
Yes,
So it's an audio file only, or it's video?
video.
So the best we may be able to do then is if you can try and hold it up to the camera
Okay.
and see if you can get, the problem with the system is the audio is only going to come through if I can hear it through your headset. So I don't know if you can kind of place that headset
Okay.
close to the microphone.
Hold on, let me get the. And it's very upsetting too because they use the kids as pawns. Hold on one second. I will try to, if you can hear it, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not really able to hear it.
Okay. But unfortunately, my brother has passed, so I mean, we're just trying to do what's right for Abby at this point. So that is all I have to say, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other, so Ms. Hartman, you didn't have questions previously. Do you have any questions based on the last couple seconds of her testimony?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And I apologize, based on your email, is it Kaylee or Haley?
Haley with a K.
I'm sorry, Miss Kaylee.
That's okay.
I've been saying it all wrong. And you did send through a text message, which I'm gonna see if I can rotate.
And it was the comment from Heather Flores because of everything. There's many more.
Okay, hold on, I'm gonna share the screen so that Ms. Hartman has the opportunity to see what it is we're discussing. All right. All right, so Ms. Hartman, are you able to see that on your screen now?
Correct.
Okay. And what is this I'm looking at, Ms. Kaylee?
There was a way too many posts. This is through Facebook that Faye was posting actually about my brother because he was an alcoholic. But Heather Flores is Faye's sister. And basically, when she's crying and sobbing, herself is wasted. So she likes to play the victim and then turn around and get the sympathy vote.
Okay, so that's Ms. Flores, not Ms. Hartman.
Correct. That's Faye's sister.
So just so you're aware, so the allegations that I have to consider are abuse, neglect, harassment by the respondent, who's Ms. Hartman. So whether or not Ms. Flores indicated that, whether or not Ms. Flores was consuming alcohol, unless that relates to Ms. Hartman, that's not something I would normally consider. Is there something that relates between Ms. Flores and Ms. Hartman other than, you know?
If you give me a moment, I will look through my phone and find something else. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can look through your phone.
Okay. Would you like Randy to have the headset?
No, we'll just wait because we're going to finish your testimony first.
Okay. I don't know if that would be. I don't know if that would. Honestly, Your Honor, I don't believe any of this would be.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one more video or picture if I can send that to you.
Yes.
What was the address? Let's see.
Do you need me to give you the address again?
No, I have it written down. Thank you.
And so you're where?
Sorry.
Sorry about that, folks. The clerk's profile came through and started the feedback. Okay, so Mr. Oh, we're waiting for the email. Okay.
And I'm actually going to send one more.
Open the one. While you're doing that, I'm going to share this photo, see if I can rotate it. Looks like I'm not going to be able to rotate it, but I'm able to view it. Okay. So Ms. Kayla, you indicated there's one more that you're sending through?
There is one other text, and it's just the, I don't know how to word it. It's the demeanor, the responses that this is the household, this is the environment that they live in at a constant. Very manipulative, it's sad. Like when DCFS was at my house and my nephew was testifying to them, some of the things that I learned was very upsetting. And it's just, I want what's best for my niece and my nephew to be able to have a great life, because I'm afraid that if she stays in that situation, she is going to become a statistic. She's going to end up pregnant. She's going to end up not where she needs to be.
And so I'm not able to rotate this one either. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. If you can give the headset back to Mr. Craze.
All right, thank you, sir.
What's the case number?
15F113.
Hold on one moment, Mr.
No problem, sir. What do you say? He's got me off mic.
All right, Mr. Crace, it's now your turn. What would you like to tell me?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay, good. Well, basically, I'll just set it in a nutshell. There's been a drinking problem for the last 12 years with Faye, and she was drinking throughout the pregnancy and taking Xanax. And I thought my daughter was, maybe deformed or anything, but thank God she didn't. And then we went through interventions to try for her to quit drinking and everything, and she just, stopped the moment, but wasn't that important. So then, as years gone by, my daughter was living with me when she was basically homeless. She was living with my friend, sleeping on the floor. And then when she met Chris, then she moved in there, and they got married and everything from there. But so my daughter was living with me, and she was going to Beulah Park. So my best judgment was that she said, "Dad, I'm having problems with the kids over there. I can't get a good education because they're disrupting me." I said, "Okay." So her mother lives in Hollyhock, which is uncorporated near the Winthrop Harbor border in Zion, in the middle there, sir. And so my best discretion was, what's best for the child? And I said to Faye, since you have the district over there, we can put her in North Prairie. And she just excelled. She loved the school. And I was very happy for her because she has residential custody with me. So then when she was over at Mr. Hartman's and Faye's home, there was just so many domestic violences, police calls, DCS involvements. And I'm just like, whoa. And then the incident with he's like 6 months away from being 18. And my daughter's 12. She's only sixth grade. And there was a boy in the bedroom there. And I was just appalled. I just said, oh my gosh. So then her mother wanted to get her on the pill. And I said, what? At 12 years old? And I said, what are you insinuating? What are you applying to this girl? What do you, that's not right. She's a kid. So I said, that doesn't stop anything. So I was disgusted. I told the police officers, I'm going to go get an order of protection. And the one officer was kind of surprised because he said to me, Faye said, well, my daughter lied. I don't want to ruin that boy's life. I said, excuse me, this is our daughter. So I directly took her to the hospital, and she had a 4-hour examination for STDs and everything like that. And I have the documents right here.
Okay.
And I just had enough. I want my daughter to have a healthy relationship with her mother. I want that. Deep down in my heart, I want that. But after this involvement, my daughter had changed. Faye says she didn't want to see me no more, don't want around me. She hates me. And I'm like, why? And then her excuse was, I didn't have internet. I said, well, I called up the school. I'm getting internet. And that was the reason why she didn't come over. It was because the boy, she could sneak in because they start drinking around 11 or 12. They pass out around 4 o'clock. There's no boundaries, no structure. There's no obedience, nothing. So she's kind of basically on her own. There were times where she said, Mom didn't cook for me and I had to fend for myself. I go, why? Because she's passed out. I went, Jesus. So she'd call me. I'd go over there and bring her food or whatever she wanted. And I said, okay, I said enough is enough. I can't keep doing this for her own safety and welfare.
Okay. Now, there are kind of two primary things in your petition that I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to address. The first was obviously the incident with the young man and the contact with your daughter. The other is in your petition, you mentioned specifically a history of physical abuse by the respondent towards your daughter. Can you please elaborate on that, or is there anything you want to tell me about that?
Yes. there'd be times where in the past where they tell them to both go into their room because they'd be in the living room. And my daughter would say, Dad, what's a living room? I said, for all of us to go in there and watch TV and chat and everything. Well, Mom and, would tell me to go in a room and Timmy. And I go, well, I don't understand that. So I said, okay. So basically, I just said to Abby, I said, just try to make the most of this. Oh,
Nope, sorry, that was,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
can hear you.
Okay, sorry.
That's my computer
I'm
receiving
sorry.
an email, sorry.
So no, that's fine, sir. So I just feel right now Abby's gotten a lot better now. She's advanced to seventh grade. I got to bring back her Chromebook today. I talked to the counselor. She's getting treatment. I talked to the principal and I talked to the teacher. And they said, Mr. Crace, you're doing the right thing, taking care of your kid. And I said, yeah. I said, I have to because I got to give this little girl a fighting chance. And I love her so much. And I want her to have a healthy relationship with her mother. That's my primary goal. But my primary goal too is her safety and welfare. She's a good kid, and she got her grades up. And I told her, you put effort in it, and the teacher will see that because of this coronavirus and stuff. So she advanced, and I was so happy. And I said, you did a good job. And so now the first couple of weeks was really, really tough on me because she attacked the cop with the phone because Mom said I can have it, but I had the police protection order saying I have to have the phone at the end of the evening. I don't mind her, texting her friends or whatever, but at 10 o'clock, it's over. And so I gave the phone to the police officer, and then she attacked the police officer because the little boy texted her. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And so that first week was really rough, but now she's stable. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Very polite and everything. And I told her, Abby, you just got to start respecting yourself in order for someone to respect you. It starts with yourself. And she goes, I know, Dad. And I said, well, I'm just trying to do this for you, for the best of you, Abby. And I love you, and I just want the best for you. That's all.
Okay. In your petition, you also mentioned that DCFS was and is involved. What is the current involvement of DCFS? Is there a safety plan? What's going on?
What happened is the lady was named Bernice. She came over and she was over at Faye's, but when she came over to my house, she took a picture of the bedroom and that, and she sat down and talked to Abigail, and Abigail said she felt comfortable being here. She's not stressed out in that environment, and yes, she loves her mom. Yes, she misses her mother, and I understand that. But I told her I just have to do what's right for you, Abigail, and hopefully when you get a little older, you'll understand that. And you don't have to thank me. You just thank yourself. Look in the mirror and thank yourself because you did this. I was just there as a father to support you.
You also mentioned a moment ago residential custody, and I see there is an order of joint parenting entered in 15F 113. What is the agreement or the order with respect to custody in that case, as you understand it?
Basically, it's 50-50. There's different holidays that we can alternate as long as we can compromise and communicate with each other. It was very difficult communicating with Faye because Faye wanted it her way or no way. And it made my situation difficult where my daughter wouldn't want to come over. And I'm like, why? Oh, I want to stay here with Mom. And, I was thinking to myself, oh, what's going on here? So basically, that's really what it came down to is just, the environment.
Anything else, sir?
That's pretty much it, sir. I mean, I know that we have 1 year taxes I get, and the following year she get it. And I told her one time, I said, we can split the taxes if we can be civil enough. After that, she took my taxes for the last 4 years and said, well, she's been living with me. And I'm like, why would you do something like that? I've been taking care of her, feeding her, supporting her, buying her clothes, making sure she's taken care of. And I want the best for her. I don't understand why she did that. And I do have the court order right here in my file.
All right. Anything else you wanted to tell me, sir?
No, I just thank you for listening to us today, and that's about it, sir. Thank you.
So, Ms. Hartman, you will have the chance to tell your side of the story, but first you have the opportunity, if you wish, to ask questions of Mr. Crace. Do you have any questions for him?
No, not at this time.
Okay. So, Ms. Hartman, now it's your turn to present any evidence that you believe goes to the issue of the order of protection.
I'm trying to email you right now text messages from my daughter.
Okay.
Let's see.
Do you need that address again, or do you have it?
CC 207.
At lakecountyil.gov. That's correct.
Okay, I'm sending the most recent one.
All right. So what I'm going to do is do a share, and I apologize for some reason I'm not able to flip it.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. What else would you like to tell me, Ms. Hartman, or what else would you like to present?
He mentioned that there's DCFS involvement. I am not involved with DCFS at all. I have the paperwork. It was Mr. Hartman that was being investigated by DCFS, who is now passed. I was never named in any of that, so there was nothing against me. Mr. Crace claims that I'm drunk all the time. Up until COVID-19, I held a steady job, worked 8 to 4 in the afternoon. My kids were always fed. They always had food on the table. Abigail did choose sometimes not to eat what I made, and she would call her dad to have him come get her and get food. Like I said, I also have a voice clip of just the other day of the way Mr. Crace speaks to my daughter and why she doesn't want to be there, of what she deals with every day. If I'd be allowed to play that.
Yeah.
Okay, a second.
You know what? Your ass would not be alive today. You know that? You would not be alive today if it wasn't for me. I'm going to tell you that right now. Your ass would not be alive. And you know why? Because that other person didn't give a shit. But who did? I did. I was there for you from day one. And this is what I get. So I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. Lack of respect, lack of everything. And you don't ever spend time with me. You don't even fucking come out of that fucking room to sit down and have a conversation with me. Since you've been here, you don't. I'm the one that initiates everything. I'm the one who has to play the game. And here you go. Here's your body. Here's your body. Do I really got to come out here? Do I really got to spend time with my dad? Well, fucking don't then. Don't. I won't play your fucking games. I won't do anything. You don't want me around. Just fucking tell me. But I will tell you one thing. Leave me the fuck alone. Don't ever fucking bother me. You do not ever exist. That's the way you treat me. How does that feel? It don't feel good. That's how I feel. I bend over backwards. I get you ice cream bars. I bend over backwards. I get you the food. I bend over backwards. When you were over there with that fucking boy and your mom wouldn't feed you, yeah, Dad, could you give me some tacos? Dad gets up, gets you done. Dad, can you give me 4 for 4? Dad gets up and gets you that. Your fucking mother couldn't even get up her fucking ass to take you to Walmart. Can't take you to Target. But I'm the bad guy. I'm the piece of shit. And I take you everywhere. You know what? I'm fucking done. I'm not gonna talk about you. Fuck it. Right. You don't want to cooperate. You don't want people to say, why did you ask you to sit down and have homework? Here's the teacher said you're after a book. Period. Because you know what you told me? You put no effort into it. And John, I told you we had crunch time. We had to get this shit done. And it was like, oh, they're gonna let me pass. You know what she told me? They were gonna fail you because you made no effort until this last couple of weeks. Every day, every week, we gotta come arguing about this shit because of your fucking attitude. You got a horse shit fucking attitude. And every time I wake up, I try to treat you right. I try to do this, and you got an attitude toward me. What the fuck have I ever done to you? Maybe I just do this. Maybe I just do this. At least I got one daughter that loves me and knows me and respects me. The other one doesn't. And that hurts. That hurts so bad. I get the bike for you girls. I come over late at night to get you snacks. I do this, I do that. Your fucking mother wouldn't do shit. She would get off her fucking ass to do something for you. But then you go talk bad about me and try this.
I didn't say
Oh, I see you. You whisper right and then you look at me. You insulted me, and I will always remember that. Now he's dead. Now he's dead, and you lied to him too. So what's the difference? You lied to me, you lied to him. So you
Ms. Hartman, how much longer is the call? Just because I know you're having issues with the dog.
it was Laura's idea.
What was the very first one?
I don't. It was.
Why did you start being honest with
I
yourself?
told you what
You lie to yourself so much. You're not honest with
It
yourself.
keeps-
You don't come out here to read the Bible with me. And whenever I sit and pray, I can feel a bad vibe. Look at me. And you know that.
This keeps going on for another 5 minutes.
Okay, you can stop it.
Okay.
And you know what? You don't have to worry about me. When you die,
All right.
Anything else, Ms. Hartman, that you would like to tell me about, or any other evidence you want to present?
I would also like to mention that from May 4th, from the time my husband died, until the end of school, out of 15 days of school, she was unexcused 12 days in his care.
No.
Anything else, ma'am?
No, that would be it.
Mr. Crace, you have the right, if you wish, to ask Ms. Hartman questions. Do you have any questions for her?
How many times have you not driven Abby to school when she told me that you were too passed out and the teacher told me she missed so many days under your supervision at that time?
She missed 3 days under my supervision, and either Chris or I would get her to school or home from school every single day.
That's not true. Her grandma would take her. I got Jamie here that would say that.
Any other questions?
I apologize. My mother lives next door to them.
Oh, ma'am, Mr. Crace needs to be back on the headset. Mr. Crace, this is the point where you get to ask Ms. Hartman questions. You'll have the chance to provide what we call rebuttal evidence, which is to provide any evidence. But first, if you have any other questions for Ms. Hartman, this is your chance to ask her.
Okay. The question when you had the video just now, the reason is because my daughter was out of control and I raised my voice. Yes, I shouldn't have swore. I apologize, but it was in my own home. I never laid a finger on her, but it was just the lack of respect that she had for me because of.
Again, you're gonna have a chance to present more evidence, and you'll each have a chance to argue to me. This is we kind of have a specific order we follow. This is the portion where you have the right, but no obligation to ask any questions of Ms. Hartman.
Okay. No, that would be it. It's just that her grandmother used to take her to the school all the time, and her and Timmy when Faye couldn't get up out of bed, or Chris.
All right, so you have no
That's
more
it.
questions. So now it is your chance, sir. If you have any other evidence that you wish to present, it's called, like I said, it's called rebuttal evidence.
For me, sir,
Yes, sir.
any more evidence you want me to tell? Well, basically, I just had the DCSF report that she had told me. Bernice said that Faye is very close to losing Abigail, so she came over to my house and explained that to me. And I said, well, hey, I'll step up and I'll do the best I can. I'll be there for her. And she says, okay. And that was it.
All right. Any other evidence then from either side before we get to argument?
No,
No, sir.
Ms. Hartman, any more evidence?
no, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Crace, you are the moving party, so you get to argue first, and then you get the last word because it's your burden in this case. So, any argument or anything else that you want to add, this is your chance to do so.
Well, first of all, I was under a great deal of stress. Yes, I shouldn't have raised my voice to my daughter, and I used a lot of profanity because I've been under a great deal of stress. She would always text and talk to her mother and everything, and which was a voice supervision on that she could contact. But I know Faye was very manipulated in telling her a lot of stuff because when I talked to Abby, she said my mom told me to say these things, and I said, really? I said, why would you do something like that to me, Abby? I mean, I know I'm not a perfect man, but I do love my kid, and I'm doing the best that I can, and I shouldn't have raised my voice. But she would never give me, she just had a bad attitude, and I told her, you got to start listening to me. And I was frustrated, yes, but I never touched my daughter in that. I was just frustrated in my own home, and I yelled, and I shouldn't have used the profanity, but she knows that she has boundaries now, and she has structure, and she is obedient, and she's come a long way these last 6-7 weeks. And that's really basically it. And I'm just, she loves me and she loves her mom, but I guess the reason is that she wants to, go back and visit because she loves her, but she knows there's no boundaries over there. There's nothing over there. As well, she has a 20-year-old boy living in her little boy's room, Timmy. And that doesn't really sit well with me either. So I don't know why she has this 20-year-old boy living in that room at the house now.
Anything else, sir?
No, thank you, sir. That's pretty much it.
Okay, Ms. Hartman, it's your opportunity to provide any argument that you would like me to consider.
In reference to the 20-year-old that is living in my stepson's old room, with my husband passing, I had to take it upon myself to bring in a roommate, which I brought in one of my girlfriend's grandsons who holds a full-time job. I'd like to reiterate about Abby calls me every single day, and that clip of the voice clip that I let you listen to, she says that happens on a daily basis. Again, I showed you that she doesn't want to be with her dad. In the end, I would like to go back to our original custody agreement of 4 on, 3 off, 3 on, 4 off, until we can go into family court if Mr. Crace would so like and get that changed.
Anything else, ma'am?
That would be all.
Mr. Crace, like I said, you get the last word because you're the moving party. Is there anything else that you would like me to consider?
Yes, Your Honor. We don't live in a perfect world, and no one's perfect. But my daughter does love me, and that doesn't happen every day, okay? We've had a great relationship. We always have. And I think right now she feels like she's in the middle of it. And I told her, you haven't done anything wrong. So what I'm trying to say is that doesn't happen every day. We go out, we go and ice cream. I take her to her girlfriends. I let her spend the night. We interact, go to movies, dinner. She loves being with me, but she misses her mom. And I understand that. But it's because she can get away with murder over there. And I try to tell her that we have to have discipline. And just like me, I got to discipline. I got to pay the bills, go to work, do all this. So that's, it's just part of life. But that's really basically it. I mean, she loves being with me, and I know she loves being with her mom. But I guess the reason she likes being with her mom is because of the fact that she can get away with everything, and her mom passes out around 4 o'clock, and it's a free for all. So I don't know what's going on, and so now I stepped up, and I always stepped up. I've always been there for her. So that's really basically it, to be honest with you, sir.
Okay.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna roll in just a second.
Oh,
Ms. Hartman sent an email, so I have her email address. Mr. Crace, I'm gonna need an email address from you. If you
Sure.
don't want to provide it over the, where
No,
Ms.
I'll,
Hartman can-
I mean,
Okay.
no one's going to grab it, is it? I mean, I'm just.
Well, no,
going
the
to
only one,
delete it.
so Ms. Hartman's here. What you can do is there's in the chat option, you can send it to me privately. If you want to chat to just me, you can send
Well, I
me
can
the
give it
email.
to you now. I can give it to you
Okay.
now, sir.
And what is that?
It's 412 Simon@gmail.com.
Okay, 412 SIMON @gmail.com.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And again, I have Ms. Hartman's email since she forwarded that information. Afterwards, you'll get a copy of the order.
Yeah, like I was going to say, sir, I'm looking for full custody and supervised visitations.
Okay.
I've had enough. This has been going on for 12 years, and it's if I don't get a grip on my daughter now, I feel she's going to be a statistic. I guarantee that. As well as her other two boys have been taken away from her, and the one boy, Jordan, has nothing to do with her, and Eric, it's just the whole family has nothing to do with Faye, her sister, her mother, and everybody. So, I mean, if that's the case, then there's a problem there.
Okay. So there are two issues here, but only one issue is properly before me.
Yes, sir.
For me, this is hearing for a plenary order of protection. In order for that to be granted, I have to make very specific findings that the petitioner has demonstrated under his burden that there was abuse, harassment. In this context, neglect can constitute abuse of a child. The way the statute's written, they have specific provisions for neglect of certain adults, but for a minor, it has to be neglect that rises to the level of abuse. The allegations, and this is going to be my turn to explain it. So,
okay, sir. I'm sorry.
No problem. The specific allegations, there really are a couple. The primary one, and the one that constitutes the vast majority of the petition, relates to an incident where the minor was found to have had physical contact of some kind. The reasonable assumption is sexual contact with an individual who's nearly 18 years old while she is only 12. There is also an allegation in the last line of the portion called description of incidents, which notes a history of physical abuse by respondent towards the minor. There really wasn't any information presented as to specific allegations of physical abuse by the respondent towards the minor. I asked specifically the petitioner, and it was more kind of conversations about, the living room and sending them to their rooms, but there weren't specific incidents that were alleged. So really, I'm left with a question as to whether or not the incident with this young man rises to the level of neglect that rises to the level of abuse under the provisions.
Well,
Sir, this is.
I'm sorry.
That's why I gave everybody an opportunity to present evidence and argue. Now it's my turn. So, kind of, as a starting off point, it's not unusual for kids, particularly as they enter middle school and high school, to engage in risky sexual activity. The question is whether or not the allegations and proof was that there was neglect by the respondent. Simply indicating that she would like a sexually active 12-year-old to use birth control, that's not neglect. If anything, that is, while not ideal, it is a realistic response to the behavior of the minor. That said, no 12-year-old should be having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old. It doesn't appear, based on the evidence presented, that respondent is promoting or even permissive with it. Whether or not she could do more to prevent it, I guess that's a question. So within the scope of what is before me, I am not able to find that the petitioner has met his burden with respect to the order of protection, and I'm going to deny it. There is a second issue, and it's one that's not before me, but one that kind of both sides have talked about. And that is there is a family case which has a specific order of parenting rights. It's possible and maybe recommended that you deal with this case through a family law court. There's a couple of things. One, even in petitioner's request here, he's not suggesting that the minor have no contact with the respondent. He suggests that respondent and the minor should have some relationship. Now, whether it's supervised or not, that's really beyond the scope of an order of protection. That's something the family law division can take. I will say that there were significant allegations of alcohol abuse. I'm not finding one way or the other as to whether they occurred, because again, that's beyond the scope of what's before me. To the extent, Ms. Hartman, that you are consuming alcohol while your daughter is in the house, doesn't seem like that's a good idea. And I will say, Mr. Crace, that recording, and you acknowledge that it's bad, that's awful. You mentioned it doesn't happen every day. That shouldn't happen any day. You should never be speaking to anyone, let alone a 12-year-old child like I heard in that recording, ever. So the fact that, you know, and this is all information that the family judge will consider in deciding what's best for the child, because that's the standard that judge will consider. Mine is whether or not a petitioner has proved the abuse, harassment, intimidation necessary for the issuance of an order of protection. And as I said, I'm finding that petitioner has not met his burden. I'm going to deny the petition. You will each receive a copy in the email. I'm going to direct the clerk to send you a copy of the order once it's entered and they have it stamped. I really wish you both luck, not only for yourselves, but more importantly for your daughter, getting shuttled back and forth in what seems to be, I'm going to put this charitably, a difficult situation for her. I can't even imagine being a 12-year-old kid going through this. So I really, really hope you two get it together, because what I've seen here indicates that you don't. Any other questions? Mr. Crace, you first, and then Ms. Hartman. So Mr. Crace, any questions?
Well, there was an incident my daughter had told me, and just as on the level.
The evidence has been closed, sir.
Okay.
Any questions for me procedurally about what the order or anything like that?
No, sir, just like what I said. You know.
Okay. Ms. Hartman, any questions?
Does this mean I can go back to my visitation schedule that is set forth?
So the order of protection will be closed. As far as I'm concerned, whatever orders exist for parenting rights remain in effect unless a judge determines otherwise.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.